Hello and welcome to Game 113, Introduction to Game Tools. My name is Matthew Marquit and I'm a full-time instructor at the University of Advancing Technology. Now in this video, the third part of a series of videos, we're actually going to learn how to take this object that we just modeled in Max and how to bring it into Unity and turn it into a collectible. So let's get started. Now the first thing we need to do is actually select the object. So I'm going to make a box selection around our object and select both pieces. Okay, I'm going to go over to the top left of the screen, okay, and click on the Max button. We're going to go down to where it says Export. We're going to hover our mouse over, we don't have to click it, and we're going to choose Export Selected. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, if you knew exactly where your folder was, your Unity folder, that's where you would place it. But just to make it a little bit quicker here, without having to go through all the folders, I'm just going to go to the desktop here, and I'm going to type in here trophy, okay, and we're going to save this out, this trophy, and we're going to leave it the default Autodesk FBX file, okay. So we're just going to hit save. All right, this dialog is going to pop up. We don't need to worry about it. We're just going to hit OK. Okay, and it's now exported that to our desktop. So if we switch over to Unity, and I have a little scene right here, okay, just like a little ground plane with some walls and such, and a character controller, okay, a first-person character controller in this case. Okay, these are the basic things that we need in order to start working with this. Now, you guys should have a level that's obviously a lot more finished or maze-like than I have here, but this is just for tutorial purposes. Just like I said in class, we should have a folder, okay, that's called Work Files or My Stuff or something similar to that. Basically, wherever you put your files, and then within that folder, we should have subfolders called Geometry, Materials, okay, scripts, and so on. You could have a folder with scenes to have your scene in there, and shaders and textures and so forth, or it just depends on what you have. I have some stuff in here that I've been working on other projects, but we should have at bare minimum a geometry folder, a materials folder, and a scripts folder. Okay, all we have to do to create those, if we haven't, is right click in here, create, and go folder, and then name the folder and make sure it's in your work files, your My Stuff folder. Okay, pretty simple. Okay, so once you have those files, okay, remember, we need to bring in this file, okay, that we just had into our geometry folder, the FBX we just exported out. So I'm going to right click over the geometry. I'm going to click Show and Explore. Okay, we're going to click on the geometry folder. So we see right here it's empty. So I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to go find that trophy FBX that I have in the desktop, which is right here. I'm going to copy that. Okay, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to paste that into the geometry folder. Okay. Now if we head back over to Unity, you'll see that it will load up the trophy automatically inside the geometry folder, including materials. In this case, it just loads up the material that came in Max, which is nothing, technically, because we hadn't put a material on it. Okay, so what we're going to do in order to keep a consistency anyways, we're going to delete this materials folder, okay, because we don't need the one that's been created in the geometry. Okay, and then we'll just put our materials in here when they need them. Okay, so I'm going to kind of zoom in here. All right, we're going to go to our geometry folder and we're going to drag out this trophy. Now the first thing you're going to notice is the trophy is pink, and that's a result of deleting the material. So we need to actually add a material to our object here. Okay, so I'm going to click on materials. All right, and we're going to create some materials so that we can actually see this trophy. So inside this empty folder, I'm going to right click, hit create, and choose material. In this case, I'm going to type in gold. Okay, and this is going to be the top color of the trophy, which is going to be obviously gold. So we go over to the main color here, we'll click on this box. All right, we're going to choose like a yellow, all right? And we're going to kind of go up to the top corner of this yellow, and we'll commit to this, we'll shut this off, and we're going to drag this gold onto our trophy. And as you can see there, it should load up gold. Now we need to make the base color. So we're going to do another material. So we'll click in here, create material. We'll call this one brown for our base. We'll click on the box again for the main color. This time we're going to choose an orangish color, okay? And then we're going to go down to the bottom of orange towards the darker to get this brown, okay? So we'll drag that onto our base, and there's our colors for our little trophy that we now have in the scene. Now this wouldn't work, okay? This isn't anything collectible. Obviously, if I was to hit play now with maximize on screen here with my first person controller, I can see my little trophy over there, and I can walk up to it, but it doesn't do anything when I walk over. It's not going to disappear. Nothing's going to happen. Okay, right now, it's just a simple object in the scene. So there's a couple of things that we need to do first in order to actually make it collectible. So I'm going to hit play here to stop the play mode. Okay. And these are the things that we need to do. Well, number one, the object is kind of tiny, so I actually am going to scale it up a little bit. Okay, and we're going to make sure that it's not clipping through the ground. So let's lift it up here just a little bit. Maybe it floats a little bit in our level. It's not really that big of a deal, but there we go. Okay, so the object's just a little bit bigger. All right, we can see from the main camera here, it looks a little bit larger to collect. Okay, so there's a couple of things that we need to do in order to make this work. All right, and we need to actually use the scripts that we find. Actually, if we go to the shell, and I've already got it loaded up here, all right, on the website, and we go to doc sharing, go down to the scripts.zip folder and download that, okay? Open that up and take those 3 scripts that are in there, okay, and place them into a folder, okay, in your work files called, in this case, scripts. And you can see I've already done this. So I've placed those 3 files, okay, already in my scripts folder. Okay, so what we're going to do with this, okay, is we're going to look at the different scripts and we're going to add them to our scene. Okay, first things first, we need to add the collectible object script onto the object itself. So we're going to drag this onto the object. It's easy just to drag it into the trophy object here. Okay, when we click on trophy, to know that we've got it on there, you'll actually see when you click on trophy a collectible object script over here on the side so that we know it's working. Now, it's still not collectible yet. There's still a couple of things we have to do. All right, another one we're going to need to do is we're actually going to need to put the master script somewhere in the scene in order for this to work and to even change our UI, okay, so that we even know how many objects we've collected. And that's this one right here. As we click on it, you can see collectible object master. All right, so in order to add that, we need to create an empty object in the scene. So let's go to the top, go to game object and click create empty. It's going to create an empty object. We're going to rename this, right click, rename, and I'm going to call this collectible master. Okay, all right, we're going to hit enter there. All right, so there's the collectible master. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the collectible master script onto the object, and now if we hit play in the scene, we should see at the very top, okay, it says 0 collectible, the top middle, right? So that lets us know that our objects are being counted and that the script is working in the scene. However, it's still not going to work yet. There are a couple more things we got to do. So I'm going to hit stop here. All right. And one of the first things we need to do is we need to set our first person controller as a player. Okay. The tag of your first person controller needs to be set as a player. If you dragged in a third person controller, it's automatically done this way. But for anybody choosing first person, you got to tag it as player. And how do you do that? We'll select it over here in your hierarchy and look on the side. You're going to see a tag. Okay, yours by default is going to be set to untagged. All right, so you just want to make sure that you go down and set that to player. And now our script should be working a little bit better as a result of that. Okay, now if we are to hit play and to test that out, okay, we're going to walk over to our object and try to collect it. We'll notice that collectible doesn't actually update and it still says 0. So there's one last thing we have to do to actually make this work, and that's put some collision on this object. So let's click on trophy, okay? And if we go up to the top here, we're going to choose component physics, and we're going to add a mesh collider to our object. Okay, this is going to allow us to basically create an area that is selectable so that when we touch it, our player character goes across it, it will pick up the object. Now by default, unfortunately, it leaves the mesh of your mesh collider, as we can see down here, empty. Okay, so what we need to do is actually we just need to add a cube to that. All right, we don't need it to match the object. So we're just going to click on that little circle we saw over there, and we're going to scale down until we choose, in this case, cube. Just makes it a little bit simpler. So now this cube object will act like the area in which if the player crosses, they will act like a trigger for the player to pick up the object. Okay, so now we'll click X, shut that off. And now if we hit play in the scene, okay, we can walk over to our object and pick it up. Okay, and you'll notice that it's gone now, and our collectible now says 1 collectible. All right, so if I hit play here, click out of it, I grab this trophy, all right, and I hit Control D to duplicate it and put another one there, and Control D again to duplicate. Let's just say we got 3 of them. We'll hit play. Okay, now I can walk up and I can start collecting them, right? So 1, 2, 3, right? They're all collected. All right, now what we want to do, however, is we actually want to turn these into what are known as prefabs, okay? If we leave this alone and we keep duplicating these objects, let's just say I thought my object was maybe too small or even too big, right? And I go in and I scale this object down to fix it. Well, the problem is I scale it down so it's a better size, okay, for our scene. But now all of the other trophies I place in the scene will not update. It's only that one. Okay, and that's going to take us a lot of time. Let's just say we filled up an entire level full of 30, 40, maybe 50 collectibles, and we want to change them all. Well, that's going to take a really long time, all right? So what we want to do is we want to turn our collectible into a prefab. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete out that collectible there and delete this one here. So we only have one. All right, and we're going to turn this particular object into a prefab. So this is how we're going to do it. So we're going to click on geometry, and in the geometry folder, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go create and pick prefab. Okay, and we're going to call this collectible. Okay, and for some reason I keep capitalizing the second letter. All right, collectible. Okay, so we can see there, now that we've done everything we needed to this particular model, right? We have the mesh collider on it, we have the scripts on it, we have everything, the materials on it, okay? All we have to do to make a prefab is actually just drag the object in its finished state from the hierarchy onto the prefab. So we'll drag trophy onto prefab and let go, and you'll see it update, and there is our prefab. So now, if I hit Control D, okay, and we'll move that copy out of the way here, and then hit Control D again, say we got 3 of them. Okay. We'll say select this first one here, and now if I go to scale it, okay, and I want to update the size for all 3 of them, sure, at first they all look like, oh, well, I just scaled this, these other 2 aren't working. Well, keep in mind, on a prefab, if we actually look over to the settings over here, where it says prefab, you can actually select, revert, or apply a change. In this case, we want to apply the change. Now, if I wanted to go back so it was the same size, I can hit revert and I'll bring it back to the same size. However, if I scale it up and I like this better, now if I hit apply, all of them will update, as you can see here. So that's the great tool behind a prefab. Okay, and so basically that's it. That's all we need to know in order to create a collectible, bring it into, or model it out, bring it into Unity, and make it a collectible. So we can test it one last time, right? I can hit play right here, and you can see now if I walk up into the object and collect it, it says 1 collectible, 2 collectible, 3 collectible. All right, and that's it. Thanks for watching.